Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking the dashboard out of a Mini R50. The reason we're taking the dash out is because we have the dreaded dashboard rattle from hell. It's not a difficult job. I have had a dashboard out my R53. I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute. Basically, we need to remove the trims, the top piece, the steering wheel, radio, HVAC assembly, heater switch box, window switch assembly, this lower trim, the glove box, kick panel, steering column cowling assembly, switches, and the center console. I'll be doing it in real time with a step-by-step on how I went about to remove this dashboard. Stick around, this is going to be a good video. Okay, because we're going to be removing the center driver's airbag, we need to disconnect the battery to avoid any airbag triggering. Before I do that, doors open, driver and passenger side windows down. Okay, let's get started. Battery on the R50 is under here. $10mm quarter drive. And the car is now completely powerless. Let's get on with it. Okay, so we'll start by removing this piece. It's very easy. Trim tool, pop it down, same on the other side. Disconnect your wire, feed it off the hinge, and remove it. Okay, next we're going to take the glove box out. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, and one behind, inside there. Torx 20 with a ratchet. These two screws can be a bit awkward, but just take your time and you'll be okay. This one's missing.
Can you please show from which point?
Yep, they're in here. One in there, one in there, two up here, and then there's one in there.
Okay.
This one I recommend using your T20 screwdriver. As you take the last screw out, the glove box will start to come down. Pull it forward. And unplug. Next we're going to loosen off this center console. There's 2 Phillips in the cup holders, Phillips screws, and 2 underneath the mirror switch. So we pop the switch out. Unplug. 2 Phillips screws down in there. One here and one here. Also just take the cigarette lighter out, pop the trim, the gear shift gaiter, and that trim is loose. Okay, with the center console now loosened, we can take these two trims off. This is why I took the glove box and the slower panel off first. It's two T20 screws on each trim. Like that. And then the same on this side. Bit of a tip, as you're taking the screws out, put them in a container so you know where everything goes later on. That's that last screw out. We can now lift the center console, slide these trims down and out, and lift them away. We have a bit of space in the workshop now, so what I've done is I'm laying the trims out in order as I remove them, as they go onto the car, so we know where everything goes and we don't have any confusion later on. Next I'll remove the rev counter, this top piece, and these dashboard trims. Drop the column down. It's a T25, 2 screws up here. These can be a bit stiff if they haven't been out before. One just there. Lift the rev counter up. Move that second screw. Like that. Lift it up. And it's one connector. Okay, to take this top piece off, there's 2 screws behind this cover. The same on the other side. Plus 2 small screws above this speedometer unit. So, small screwdriver. And just flick the cover off and pull it out. Again, the T20. The heads on these screws aren't very deep, so the tool may jump and come off, but it's not a big problem. Okay, now take your quarter drive extension with a ratchet up here. Remove that screw. Same on this side. Let them drop. Same on this side. Lever the trim away, pop it out. And these 2 screws here. One. And 2. Now, with one hand on each end of the trim, pull it away about 2 inches and lift it out. Again, just put everything in order so we know how it all fits back together. Okay, with that top piece removed, we can now start taking out these trim sections. I'll start with the airbag one. This is a bit difficult, but if you're careful, it won't break. This one's already loose, but it's fastened to the airbag housing on these rubbers down here and these 2 clips up here, and this hinge strap, which is held in place by this bar with 2 10mm bolts. So remove these 2 bolts. Like so. And now, very carefully, we will thread. This is mounted with paper, so you'll have to reinstallate it later on, but it's not a big problem. And there's your airbag hinge rod. The reason that's there, I think, in case the airbags are deployed, those rubbers will break and the cover will go straight up like that to avoid hitting the passenger in the face. Then you take a flathead screwdriver, just ease it down to create an air gap enough to take the trim section out. Next I'll take this trim piece off. Again, it's a T20 screw under here. So again, the heads on these screws aren't very deep, so they might jump and bounce. Fell through. And then we can just pop the trim out like that. We can take this steering column top piece off because there's no screws attached to it. That just pulls out off its clips at the top and on the bottom, and we can remove it. There's also a screw on this Speedo assembly housing, one on this side and one on this side. I've already removed this one. Again, T20 Torx bit. There's a screw. And also, just pull these off. These are on locators, so they can only fit one way, and it doesn't matter which switch you put them on. Very carefully, just pry it off. Like that. Last piece, again, a single screw, Torx 20. Screw goes out, and then just pop it out, and the screw fits through there, up into there. Because we've removed a lot of screws now, I've put them in a container. Grab yourself some masking tape, and I'll write what they're for, all these items down here. Next, we're going to remove the driver's side airbag, the steering wheel, the upper and lower column cowling shrouds, and the 2 switch packs here. So, T30 Torx bit with a handle, with 2 screws, one on each side. We can remove them. They're captive screws, so they don't come out. And one on this side. Like that. just ease the airbag forward as you wind the screws out. Like that. Okay, there's two plug connectors on this airbag. Small screwdriver. Lever these locks up. Like that. You'll need a bit of persuasion, but if you're careful, they're quite easy. Okay, next we can take the steering wheel off. 16mm 1/2 inch with a short extension and an extendable ratchet. Of course, make sure the steering lock's on, wheel straight ahead, and the front wheels are in the straight ahead position as well. Slacking it off. I'll take it out a few turns and just shake on the wheel to take it off the splines because they can get stuck. Wind that bolt all the way out. Now I'll make a small timing mark there and there. There are existing timing marks, but I do prefer to put my own so I can have two reference points. Feed the airbag wiring through the wheel. Also remove the horn cable, and the steering wheel can be removed. Okay, now we can take these trims off. This upper one just lifts off like that. Small note, just be careful and make sure the clock spring doesn't rotate, otherwise you could break it. Now for this piece, there's two T25 screws holding it down. One there, and one up here. And lift it down. Slide the ignition switch barrel gaiter off. Slacken the steering lock assembly off. And then very carefully ease it down. Okay, next I'll remove the A-pillar trims, which is why I'm wearing gloves. Put your fingers between the trim and the rubber and pop them out. This is my microphone for my radio, so I'll feed that out now. Your car may not have this, but mine does, so I'll just let it rest there for now. Same on this side, just peel it away and lift it out. And because it's going to be easy to take the dash out later, I will take this door rubber sill. Sorry about that guys, but my gloves kept slipping, so I took them off just to get the door rubber off. I've done the same on this side. This will allow us a bit of extra clearance on the edges when we eventually take the dash out of the car. Okay, now we can take the windscreen wiper switch and the lighting indicator switch out. It's one Phillips screw on each of them. Take them out. Pull the switch back towards you. Unclip it, there. That's one. Same on this side. Ease the switch away from the steering column itself. Push down on the tab and lift them out. Okay, I've put the bolt back in the steering column just so we don't lose it. Next we're going to take the speedometer assembly out, the radio, the HVAC assembly. I'm not too sure how this comes out at the moment, because on the R53 it was electronic. This is the old cable method. So what I might do is I might disconnect it from the dash and just leave it in place, but we see how we go. On my radio I can just pull it out, unplug my antenna jack, my reversing camera assembly, my speaker assembly, my dashboard camera USB port, and the power plug, and of course the microphone. Now I can pull that all the way through and out. Next I'll remove the faceplate. Again, T20 screws. Three. And the fourth one. Theoretically now this AC bracket should just, should just lift away like that. Okay, next I'll remove the switch pack. T20 screws. I will point out this switch pack is on locators, so you can't really position it in the wrong place. Pull it forward, then we push down on this center lock, lift the tab up and pull it out. Sorry guys, the camera cut off. What I was doing is just seeing how this HVAC assembly now reacts. It looks like it will slide back just enough for us to lever the dash away when we're ready, and any wires attached to the back we'll remove when we pull it away. There's also a cover down here that has to be removed. Again, T20, one screw and two clips. Just pull it down and lever it away. This Speedo assembly, like I said, is held on by 4 screws, and they can go a bit tight, but I'm assuming they've never been changed before. One in there. We'll stick that back on later. And last one on the top. And just ease the assembly towards you. Again, there's 2 plugs on the back. Push the center tab down and lift the lock up. Same on this side. The Speedo is on a sliding locator here with some anti-rattle foam, so be very careful not to damage anything like this. I have somehow peeled this away and got it caught in the extension earlier, but I'll glue that back together before we put the dashboard in. But yeah, we are slowly getting there. I think now we can start labeling wires and get ready to take the dashboard itself out. Big old pile of parts now accumulated. Of course, relabel all the screws that you've removed to make installation easy. Because we've removed a lot of stuff now, I'm labeling all the connections. So RC will be the rev counter, L plus IS is lights and indicator switch, and WWS is for windscreen washer switch. What I did here, 2 cable ties together, and we've just locked the clock spring in place so there's no danger of it moving. Because there's a lot of wires, we've labelled everything and I've written down what the definitions of my wiring labels are. Of course, if you guys have another way of labelling it, you just do it that way. This way works for me. It worked on the R53, so there's no reason why it can't work now. Had to remove this kick panel out the way because we have to take this cover off for the multi-plug for the BCM. Like that. This multi-plug has to come out the way because it runs all the way around the dash and everything needs to be unclipped. So yeah, we are slowly getting there. To take this multi-plug off, there's a push-on connector down there, and again push your lock down. And lift the tab up. Also we'll remove the OED port scanner and this light plug as well. And then there's a clip on the dash and just pull it off. Okay, we're now ready to start removing the dashboard mounting screws themselves. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws in total. They are T25 and T20. We'll remove them all to begin with. Then I have to try and slide this HVAC unit back because there is a plug on the back which I can't get to at the moment. And of course leaving it back on this side will allow us to take this wiring off the dash itself and fold it out the way. Okay, there's 2 T30 screws as well on each end of the dash. I'll remove those first. Okay, the dash is now loose at the bottom, and there's one final bolt up here. That's an 8mm headed bolt. Just up here. Okay, now, theoretically, I should be able to just ease the dash back. Yep, there we go. Same on this side. Like so. Now we can start unclipping the wiring. So one there, one inside there, one there, one up there, one just here. There's also a plug connector down here which joins to the lower wiring loom. Same plugs as before. Push that tab and lift it up. That wiring then feeds out from there. There's two clips on the top, feed the wiring out through here. Unclip it. Out through there. Now we can start removing the wiring from here. Very careful around my parking sensor. And of course one back there. Two bits of tape underneath at the back, I'll show you that in a minute. Then feed the wiring through the airbag on the passenger side till it's opening. And so. We'll just let it rest over there. Okay. Figured out how this HVAC comes out. You've got your screw threads, if you'll call them here. These popping threads stop the clips from allowing the control unit itself to just be lifted out. So now we can, I think, we've got one cable tie just here for my reversing camera. If you haven't got reversing camera, you could have just lifted the dashboard out by now, but there we go. And then the last connector, the last wiring mounting.
Be careful with this right side, your parking sensor wire.
And of course with the parking sensors, just feed it out. Very carefully around the gear stick. Success! The dashboard has left the vehicle. My God. This is your HVAC control assembly. Very good idea. It's a separate wiring loom from inside the car. It looks like part of it splices into that joining plug that we took off earlier. But yeah, you haven't actually got to remove it from the heater box itself, which is very good. There is a wiring loom down here for the radio, which threads up through inside the dash, which I'll show now. It threads through up here and up into the radio assembly. And down here is where those two screw thread tabs would go for the HVAC. But yeah, all that work just for this. Yeah, that is very loose. Not as bad as it was on the R53, but enough to give a driver a headache when he's trying to enjoy a Sunday drive. But we can now remove the peg, and there we go. We shall stick this peg back on, let my hardener go off while we have some lunch, and yeah, then we will get this car rebuilt, back on the road, and I think we can take it for a test drive later. This peg from the dashboard fits into that little hole just there, and you can see it's got a lot of play in it, but we can also see the wear where it's worn away the plastic down there. So the best way to do this, or the way I did it on the R53, would be to machine a special Teflon peg up on a lathe with the right diameter here and here and put it in. But I'm going to try a different way for this. I'm going to use some silicone, put a lot on the peg, let it set off, and then just a small amount here. The reason I'm only putting a small amount is if I ever have to take this dashboard out to maybe do a heater core, the air conditioning evaporator, or God forbid the blower motor, I'll get it out without snapping the actual dash itself. But yeah, so far so good. We're going to have a break now, but I will show how I'll silicone this in first. Okay, to fit this peg, you would push it in. Right. Like that. So a bit of silicone around there, of course, on the peg itself. There we go. And I think just a touch around there. Hang on, we'll fish that piece of dry sealant out, and then work it with your finger. There we go. Making sure we haven't got any on the other side of the peg, and just scrape it off the dash there. The dash also clips into two flats on the car, here and here, so when we put this dash in, the alignment has to be dead straight, otherwise we could snap the peg, we could break it here, or we could damage one of these. Here in Cyprus, there isn't a dashboard available because I had the last one on the R53 when I replaced it. So when the time comes to fit it, we'll take it slowly. But yeah, it came out okay. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't put it back in with ease. But we'll let this go off while we have some lunch, and then we'll get back on it. On the R53, we had what I call a magic eye here for the alarm. But on the R50, it's just a blanking plate. This was kind of noisy, so what I'll do, while that silicone dries off, I think I'll glue this in. There's nothing there. I didn't take this out before I removed the dash, but on your car, like on my other Mini, it might have a sensor here, so it just might be worth looking into that before you start the job. The main wiring harness. I did check if there is some kind of multi-plug down that side, but on my car it doesn't have it. But really, it ain't really that bad to thread it through. I mean, we did mark all the connectors, your BCM multi-plug, OBD socket, the lower light plug, and of course the headlight adjustment switch, speedos, rev counter, indicator and wiper control unit. No, I can't say it's the most difficult wiring loom to remove, but it definitely wasn't the easiest. But yeah, it's we have got the poppers, so we can put it back in relatively easily. We'll just take it slowly and we'll get it done. Okay, the silicone is now hardened. We've put a bit on the peg here. Not a lot. Like I said, if I ever have to take this dashboard out again, I'll be able to get it out without breaking it. Of course, I've built it up proud here where it rattled. But yeah, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work. A friend of mine in the States did it this way, and that was a couple of years ago. He hasn't had any problems so far, so yeah, I think that we're ready to refit it. Let's get on with it. Okay, come from this side, Dennis. So we've got the dash nearly in position. I can now thread this wiring loom in the access hole underneath for the radio. Thread it up. And through that hole just there, like that. So we have the radio plug and the antenna. This wire here is for the for the reversing camera. I'll fit that a bit later on. And just up here is my USB port for the dashboard camera. Again, I'll fit that a bit later on when I've got the dash mounted in place, bolted down. We've also got the climate control roughly in position. So I'll slip that in now and put these two screw threads back in. But yeah, once this is in, I'll thread the wiring loom back through. I will do it in real time, so bear with me a minute. But yeah, it's the dashboard is roughly nearly back in place. Okay, the HVAC assembly is back in place. What you do is I couldn't do it in real time because my hands were in the way, but hold it all the way in, put your fasteners in, and just let it go back. There is no way can it now push through that dash, and even if it does, we can always push it from the back. I'll put this piece on first when the dash is back in place. Now we can start doing the wiring loom. Just take the extras completely away from it. So we'll start with the multi-plug. Feed it through. Across there, like that. Making sure we don't snag any wires. And then we'll pop. Get the dash roughly in place now and pop the first connector in. There we go.
Daniel, don't forget about your parking sensor wire from the right side. It's on the not good position right now.
Yep, I haven't forgotten about that. And that is the dashboard peg in its hole. And now we can start screwing things up. The dash is now officially back in place. We don't appear to have any rattles now. So we can start bolting it up. I've rethreaded all the wiring down. I didn't show it going back in place because it was a bit difficult. But generally, it's not that bad. Just follow where the ploppers go on the crash bar and on the moulding and down here, and you'll be fine. It's not really that bad. But yeah, I am so relieved that dash went in without breaking it, because in a hot climate like we are here in Cyprus, these dashes can go very brittle and break like they did on the R53, but yeah, that dash, it just went bump straight in. Now all I've got to do is put it back together. These two screws, one of them is a normal thread and one of them is what I call a self-tapping thread. These self-tapping threads are the T30s. They go on each end of the dash just here. The rest of these go along the top surface and the black screws go along the bottom surface. You can't really get these wrong. But yeah, we are starting to make progress. So I shall get this side now fastened down. There we go. one up there. Where the screws did fit, they've made clean areas around the holes. The bolts are covering those areas, which tells me now that the dash is in the right place. But when it's tightened down completely, I'll do the bounce test on it again to make sure we've eradicated the noise. But I'm pretty confident we have. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll put the switch pack, speedo and bottom dashboard cover on. And I will take my labels off. Again, you don't have to do that, but for me it's just a precaution. So make sure they're in the unlocked position. So one are just there, another one, there we go. Making sure we line up on the locator. There we go. And because we labelled everything, we know exactly which screws go where. These lower ones are a bit awkward, but we'll make it work. There. And one up there. And one just here. And as you're putting stuff on, just give it a shake and make sure nothing rattles. This wire's next for the switch pack, which fits just there. Again, all these bolts are the same torque size, so that's quite handy. It saves me having to change tools. The bottom piece goes in like that. Oh, sorry, other way up. Pushes in. Across. This piece here is a good test to see if your dashboard's properly in place. Which it is. And also, because this is the old cable style, I will of course make sure that the gears haven't jumped, which they haven't. That's good. Okay, next is the radio faceplate, and then I can start hooking up all my extra wiring, put the radio in, all the other bits and pieces, and then we're just about there. Sound system is in, the HVAC is now completely bolted on with the switch pack. So I think I'll put the A-pillar trims on next. And they fit down into the respective holes. Mine's a bit awkward on this side because I have the parking sensor assembly there. And of course, not forgetting the microphone. That's it. Same again on the other side. The dashboard camera feed is actually attached to the main wiring harness, so this side's a little bit more easier. Now, because we fastened the clock spring so we couldn't turn, I can't move the steering handle to get this lower piece on, so now I can snip that cable tie, drop the handle all the way down, and thread that piece up like so over the ignition switch, let it rest. Sort the wiring out of the way. And now we can put these two switch packs in. Windscreen washer switches, plug it in, and again just slide it in like so. And the screw just there. And the light and indicator switch assembly, same method, plugs in, line it up in your locators and slide it on. And then of course another small screw. There they are. Now I can place like that. Oh, a second, we have to just loosen this off because otherwise we can't get the ignition gator on over the indicator switch, ignition switch, sorry. Fits it into the grooves like that. There we go. And then very carefully just prise that down. And screw it into place. And then of course not forgetting your 2 screws for the bottom cowling cover. They are for the counter. Slowly but surely we're making progress. What I'll do now is I'll refit this dash trim piece, put the rev counter on, then I'll get the steering wheel on, all the dash trims, the top piece. Then before I go any further, I'll reconnect the battery and make sure everything works. Okay, so we've got these 2 pieces back in now. Just pop this end piece off so we can get the Speedo cover trim back on. Again, it pops in with 2 screws underneath. In my case it's only the one, so, and of course the Torx heads. One just there. That. And then one. Again, these can be a bit awkward to start, so get the angle right. There we go. There we go. Of course, this piece next. As I said, I'll leave the airbag cover off to last because of these 2 lips here. Of course, don't forget the surround buttons on this Speedo surround. There we go. And now we'll thread this airbag strap back in. There we go, it just went. And of course, don't forget the bracket. This is going to be a bit difficult to film now because I'm obscuring the whole shot, but very carefully just thread the hinge through the straps. There we go. With your two M8 10mm headed bolts. Just need to go grab a tool. While you're tightening this down, it's a good idea to pull the arm as far back as it will go. Like that. I will glue this piece on when I've tested the car, but for now what I'll do, I'll put a bit of masking tape over it just to hold it in place while we do the test drive. When I'm happy, then I'll permanently fasten it back in. Leaving the steering wheel and the rev counter out, it'll be a lot easier now to reinstall this piece. Get it started. Like that. There we go, it's just gone. And then your two bolts on each end. These four narrow-headed screws. Again, push back as you're tightening down, and there's no reason to go super tight with these, they're only into plastic. As soon as you feel a nip up, that'll do. And then of course not forgetting these two centre screws, one there. And one just up there. Again, no reason to go super tight. When you feel them grab, like that, that's tight enough. And while we still have the steering wheel off, I'll refit the rev counter.
Just a second. Where it is?
Like that. Set it down. Now I will say these can be, they're not the easiest rev counters to fit, mainly because you can't see the bolts, or holes rather, but work by feel. That's one. And two. Again, these can be a bit stiff, but or a bit tight going in rather, but it's nothing major. There we go. Okay, I think next we'll refit the steering wheel, these trims, the centre console, and before we put the glove box and the bottom trim on, I think we'll see if everything works. Where's the... There. So we'll pull that out. Of course, double check your timing marks line up, and the torque setting for this bolt is 63 Newton meters, so we'll torque it down. There we go. Now the airbags. Again, just make sure these clips are retracted, and these are color coded to the plugs, so we can't really get them wrong. There we go, one there. One down there. Rotate the airbag. Now we can screw it down. One. Oops. And two. In case anyone was wondering what this is the battery steering control for the radio. Okay, we can now put these two side trims back in. I've got them in the center console, so now I'll just push everything forward as one great big assembly unit, like that. And the center console looks like it's lined up. I'll get these side screws started first. Two on that side and two on this side. And then your 4 Phillips screws for the center console itself, I'll put them in next and tighten it down completely. Careful. There we go. And then the two in the back just here, where the rear view mirror switch would go. For some reason on Minis, one of these 4 screws always goes in at a pissed angle. But they're all in, so we can pop our gear shift gaiter back on and put the car back into neutral. Just pop that down. Okay, next I'll reconnect the battery, refit the mirror switch, and then we'll test to see if everything works. These plugs only fit in one socket. They may look the same, but they're not. That's it. And just make sure you don't trap the wires around the unit itself. There we go. Battery's reconnected. So does everything work? Air conditioning works. Circulation works. Windows work. Limit switch works, ASC works, lights, that's working. Yep. Yes. Well, dashboard is back in. Pretty much everything is reconnected. We've just got the lower kick panel, which I'll put on now, the glove box, the end covers for the dash, but I'll leave the glove compartment off for now because there's a bit of rewiring to do underneath. And yeah, and then it's done. Then we got a road test, and then we'll find out if all the hard work's been worth it. Door rubbers are back on. The end pieces are back in. Next we'll refit this lower tray. As before, get it started in the end hinge. Into the middle hinge. Reconnect the headlight adjustment switch and pop it back in. Very last piece we need to reattach is the glove compartment itself. Again, I think what I'll try and do this time yeah, we'll do it that way. Lever that down, get in, and before you put it back in, just make sure the light goes out when you shut the lid. Okay. My leg trapped. Of course, I'll put the back screw in first. Like so. Like that. Now the two top screws, one up there and one just there. Whoops, went a bit too fast there I think. Again, no need to go crazy tight with them, just until you feel them grab. Like that. And then of course, those two, and now I can tighten this piece in. And that's it. The car is now back together. We're going to have a cup of coffee, have a clean up, and then I think we're ready for a test drive. Okay, on a test drive. No rattles, no funny plastic noises. I think I can call this a successful job. A lot of work, but with the difference it makes, not only to your driving enjoyance, but to the whole of the car, it's worth it. So, that's it. That is how you remove and install a dashboard on a Mini Cooper R50 and a Cooper R53. Apart from the HVAC control system, it was the exact same thing as this one here that I did last week. But yeah, that is how you repair the dreaded dashboard rattle from hell. Like I said, the purpose of this video is to help anybody out there who's willing to try this, mainly because I couldn't find any information online when I did it. Please bear in mind, however, I bear no responsibility if somebody cracks the dashboard, breaks the trim, or in the worst case damages the wiring loom. This is the method that worked for me before, and it's the way it worked for me this time. I will say I have removed dashboards on other cars, so I do know the necessary steps you need to employ to remove the actual dash itself. Like I said, this way worked for me. Maybe somebody out there has found another way to do it. If you prefer to do it a different way, then by all means go for it, but this is the way I prefer. So that's it guys, thanks for watching. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment on it, and yeah, just give it a share. Thanks again guys, see you in the next one.